Hello, I'm Caroline Marshall, and welcome to Bump to Business Owner, the podcast speaking to mums in business, you. I'll be in conversation with some of the most inspiring women and mothers in enterprise about their journey, how they created their successful businesses alongside raising their children, and what that looks like in work and family life. So today I'm joined by Rachel Hanretty, founder of Mademoiselle Macaron, an Edinburgh-based business inspired by her time living in Paris and known for producing up to 20,000 macarons each week. Wait, is it macarons?
Macarons.
Macarons. Known for producing up to 20,000 macarons each week. I feel like we should keep that in to show that I actually have no idea how to say it, as much as I love to eat them. With high-profile clients like MAC Cosmetics, Moët and Chandon, and even an order for the set of the Barbie movie, Rachel's handcrafted patisserie has become a go-to indulgence across the UK. But Mademoiselle Macaron's story is more about the beautiful product. It's about starting from scratch. It's about identity, and it's about navigating the complexity of building a brand while becoming a mother. Rachel studied English and French at university, and while living in Paris, fell in love with macarons. Trained at the Alain Ducasse cookery school, she brought that Parisian perfectionism back to Scotland and started making macarons at home, eventually launching her business from a single market stall in 2013, and today is a thriving seven-figure e-commerce brand. Yet, as her business grew, Rachel's personal life evolved too. Becoming a mother reshaped her relationship with her company, and she has been refreshingly honest about how hard that shift has been, talking openly about guilt, identity loss, and how parenting has impacted her business, both practically and emotionally. She's also navigated health challenges, including epilepsy, while leading her team and brand. This episode explores what happens when your business is your identity and then you become a parent, which is so fitting. So me and Rachel know each other from the Goldman Sachs 10KSB program, so we have talked at length. I think we found each other on the first day, didn't we, Rachel?
Yeah, like birds covered together, and it was sort of the first real test of being away from home. In fact, being away from the business and going into this group of people and feeling very flustered, and I found you and I felt better.
Yeah, that's what I do. I help flustered people feel better because I'm flustered myself when I attract them. But or maybe it was because I'm from Cornwall. It was the Cornish-Scottish thing. It was like the two ends of the country. We also came together.
Absolutely.
So that's how I know all about your story, and I like every time I talk to you, I'm like, this happened and this, and I'm like, yeah, we could talk for hours. Hence why we've already done half an hour before we even got round to pressing record on this podcast. But let's start with Paris. How did you end up there, and how did this spark your idea for Mademoiselle Macaron? Did you imagine entrepreneurship being in your path?
Yes, so I mean, it's a real hardship to go and live in Paris for a year, but
it's a real hardship.
Real hardship, what can I say? But as part of my degree, it was always the plan to spend, they called it an integrated year abroad. So I wasn't studying because I did a joint honours programme. That didn't fit with the course. So I went and I had a job, and the British Council set you up with a teaching assistant position, doing 12 hours a week. It was awful.
12 hours a week? That's not a bad shift though.
No, but I had to find supplementary income. So I was also a babysitter in the evenings, and then laterally I was doing freelance journalism and working for the New York Times in their Paris office, which sadly is no longer around. But it was kind of like a cobbled together life of earning money. And as luck would have it, I got this opportunity to go to the cookery school to learn how to make macarons, which I did, and had these recipes under my belt. When I came back from living in Paris, I was just so heartbroken, totally disenchanted with finishing university, and I couldn't find good French macarons. So this was 2011. I couldn't find them, and I was like, well, I know how to make them. And then one email landed in my inbox from the Career Centre at the university saying, do you have an idea for a business? Come to our pitching event. So I was like, yes, I suddenly do have an idea for a business, because I don't want to write this essay, so we're going to write a business plan.
That is such an entrepreneurial thing to do. I don't want to write an essay, so I'm going to come up with a business plan instead.
Yeah, which until this year was like the only business plan I've ever had. And yeah, I went along to this event. I pitched my idea. I turned up with macarons and I won some money, which I then used that summer to make macarons at home. I sold them to a restaurant in Edinburgh and then graduated. I couldn't find a full-time job. So this was 2012. So we're kind of like still in the years of coming out of the recession and people not really wanting to
we
employ
graduated right
graduates.
around, we graduated in recession. We've done well with our working life between recessions and COVID and things.
Talk about a traumatized generation. So I was doing this part-time job surrounded by women in business. Saw women starting businesses, developing businesses, and thought, why not? If not me, then who? And I mean, if you ask about do I think that my life was going to take an entrepreneurial route? Probably yes, in a way, because when I was really young, so about 12, 13, I actually was an Avon girl. So I got a patch, in my neighborhood. It was given to me by a neighbor whose daughters were no longer doing it. And it went in my mum's name, but I did all the work. So I was this like 13-year-old paid in cash with my commission, and I just saved it in my Enid Blyton books, like hidden in a book on my bookcase. And then I made jewellery and had a jewellery company when I was young, so always hustling.
Always hustling. I love that. Then it was definitely in your path. And so when you first launched, I love that it started in your kitchen, but you launched a market stall. And so how did you go from market stall to e-commerce brand? Like, summarize, that's a huge journey because we're talking about from 2013.
12 years of macarons. So started making them at home and sold them at Saturday Market. Did that on repeat. Got someone to stand at another market every Saturday, so we had 2 markets running, and then happened to find a shop premises with enough space to produce macarons in the back, and it was a sort of cafe in the front. So I'd like kept all the money I could in the business, and then very sadly, one of my friends at university was super young. He actually passed away and had some money that he left to me, and Luciano. And so I had this pot of money, and the rent was really reasonable. It was on a side street in Edinburgh with a view of Edinburgh Castle, really beautiful. Not great footfall, which later became a problem. But just kept things lean. Hired someone to make the macarons, kept it there. So we opened the shop in 2014. In 2015, we opened our website. By 2016, we had a manufacturing site further down the road, sort of a kitchen factory. And when we had that scale of manufacturing, we could really focus on online sales. So around about this time, Shopify was gaining traction. Shopify was kind of like newish on the market and made e-commerce way more accessible. And even things like, I think all e-com brands now take Royal Mail Click and Drop for granted. But having all these integrations kind of come into play around about this time really helped me to grow the business in the e-com direction. So again, think back to like MailChimp was dominating the scene. So you had this MailChimp, Shopify, growth spurt. So I think I built my business in an e-com direction because that's what was happening in the business world then. It was just becoming a lot easier to do that, and just as easy to do that than it was to open the doors every morning to run a shop, because you can make money overnight in an e-com brand. You can't make money overnight with a bricks and mortar shop. So by 2018, the lease was up for renewal in the shop, and the landlord was close to doubling it. So by this point, I was literally like, I was burnt out. I'd been doing it for 5 years at that point, and I said, I'm just going to do online sales and trade sales. Trade sales were also picking up for us. So we have a 35-65% split between trade and B2C. So we're predominantly e-commerce, but we are also like a manufacturer of macarons.
So trade is where you provide the macarons for other businesses. Is that right? Yeah. Just to explain.
So right now, our macarons are going to Selfridges as part of their Christmas offering. You won't know it's our macarons, but you'll know, like we know. So do a lot of white label. Yeah, we're an e-com brand. That's where we want to grow. We do a lot of corporate gifting, which we also consider sort of e-commerce, because we set the business up for people to order everything through the website. So including trade clients, they can get their own login to order their prices. So yeah, we tried to be fully systemized, and I would say in terms of fast forwarding to becoming a mum, if you have bricks and mortar retail cafe, you are tied, you're physically tied to our, commitment of hours, commitment of space. And it's not, in my view, as easy to have kids and have a physical business.
So that's really interesting, because I'm sure many will be listening to this and that would be their dream, to have a Macaron cafe, and it's...
Don't do it.
And before we get to the motherhood part, what was that transition like? Because essentially you've never had an employed role where you've been a team leader, learned how to manage people, you've had to do it on the job. And I, as someone who runs a people business, and you have to have people to make your macarons, what's that been like, transitioning from being the doer to the leader and managing a team for you? How's that journey looked?
Up and down is how it's looked.
Yes, that's the truth.
So at the beginning, one of the first roles I recruited for was the person to make the product. So I was pretty clear that I wasn't going to be the one producing the macarons if I wanted the business to grow. So I hired someone to do that. And I think we were all quite young and we all believed in it. And we all liked each other. So it was fun. It was fun. It was cute. It was fun.
I love that.
No one stays young forever. And then obviously within a couple of years, some people left, and then cracks appear. I think so I was 23 when I started, getting to 25, 26, you've been doing this for a few years, costs are going up. You're like, okay, this is fun, but also I've got to balance it with all this and
it's
adding in overheads. Yeah. So when you have to switch from that friendly kind of banter with the team to being the business owner, it was pretty horrible. When I got the premises in the kitchen separate from the shop, I'd spend most of my time in the shop, which had a little office. And then all of a sudden you had this issue where people weren't seeing you. There was no visible leadership. And I would say that's when it started to really crunch.
And you had to kind of make that transition as a leader and bring a different kind of style to the team, because I think I can identify with that, being in a young startup and lots of young people, you're all in it together, and then the cracks really do show. And I think that's something probably a lot of young startups probably experience, let's just say, and probably why actually the stats are more successful for founders in their older years starting businesses. But it's amazing you made it through it. It's the reality of running a people business. I think sometimes people think, oh, I'll get someone else to make the macarons, something like that, and it's yeah, but then and quality is a huge piece obviously for your whole brand, and you've got to be in charge of those people. And one of the main reasons this podcast isn't just about, it came from the fact that employed work never worked for me as a mother. I ended up, for several reasons, ending up running a business in motherhood because the employed life wasn't for me. But it's also here because I spend a lot of my time in the founder community, and there's a lot of lovely young female founders who they'll suddenly be open with me and they'll be like, I am petrified of becoming a mother. How on earth do you do it? Because they are plowing everything into their businesses. And so that, and I love seeing people on the other side of that and talk honestly about it. You've been really open. Your identity was deeply tied to the business. What was your thoughts when you were approaching motherhood, and how did you feel about it with how you'd navigate it as a business owner?
So I got pregnant in 2021. So we weren't too far out of the COVID era. So yeah. I'd really knuckled down and just packed a whole lot of boxes because the shop.
I was going to say, how did you do in COVID with?
Oh, really well.
That, yeah.
Everyone was at home buying cake. So I was kind of in this really knuckle down kind of mentality, and the idea of becoming a mum then wasn't crazy because the world was quite small there, and it was all, you were just in a bubble. And so it was kind of I'll just have this child in my little bubble. And I'd hired a general manager to take care of things. And he was on board and things just were in a nice groove. When the bubble popped in 2022, so Lottie was born in February. By summer 2022, certainly by autumn, the bubble had popped. The Ukraine-Russia war, life had changed. Everything felt more volatile, despite coming through a pandemic, which was obviously very scary. Made put everyone in a very vulnerable position for lots of reasons. I felt more vulnerable after it. So I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it does. You'd become a mother, you know, you'd kind of set it up for that right time in the world you're living in right now. And the world changed incredibly in that transition, as well as your business, because obviously the world opened up. So I'm assuming here less people sending treats to each other like we all did during COVID. Yeah, the world completely changed, as well as you completely changed as well, becoming a mother.
Yeah. And I mean, the world changed from a raw materials point of view and energy bills to then cost of living crisis. Yeah, like, you know, the whole Liz Truss thing just took people's disposable incomes, you know, their monthly mortgage payments, that money that was their disposable income just went, you know, like, and that's the money that funds businesses like mine, the little treats, the presents, stuff. So yeah, I changed, the business changed, the world changed, the customer, and so to go through, any business owner goes through such upheaval, you know, there's growth and then there's survival, and kind of like oscillate between the two, definitely the latter. But to do all of that while you yourself are changing, one of the biggest things I struggled with, or have struggled with, being a mum and this time that we live in, is the rise of the founder influencer. So my business is very much tied to my time and my story living in Paris. And I love Paris. I've got a long, you know, love affair with the culture, literature, the food, everything. So on paper, I have everything there to be like a great founder-led business and brand. And, you know, look at how much we use LinkedIn now. Look at TikTok. Look at the brands that, like, one of the women I hope that you will have on this podcast, because she's about to become a mum, or has become a mum, is Amelia from Bold Bean Company.
Yes, I love Amelia from Bold Bean. One of my team sent me her and she's having a baby. Let's get her on.
I'm very interested to see how that goes. I'm interested to see how honest she is when she has a baby.
Oh, that is actually a really true point, because I think it's really hard to be honest, especially I find it hard sometimes as a service, even as a service-based business owner. You always want to seem in control, but that is the reality, is you know how hard it is on the other side, and that's why we like have these stories, and I love having refreshingly honest people like yourself. I know you are, Rachel, on the here, because it is so hard when your story and who you are is so tied to the business, which as a small business owner in this world we are now.
But you have to broadcast that you are the brand. Your face has to be on TikTok. Your face has to, you know, you have to speak. And so if your business USP is built on your story, and businesses these days operate on these media channels that can make or break, you know, or at least add or take away from your growth trajectory, and you are exhausted and having your own identity crisis from becoming a parent, like...
I so relate to that, the pressure I felt, just even like I was so small back when I started my business, but afterwards felt the pressure of doing social media, doing these posts, showing up when I'm like, you know, fresh out of neonatal intensive care with my baby, and like had a whole years of identity crisis. It's crazy, isn't it, how when we're meant to show up for our businesses like we're the same. Did you feel that pressure?
Oh, 100%. And show up for your team.
Yeah, oh gosh, even more importantly, to keep the business running, really.
Yeah, so you've got this child, and then you've got the like 15 other children in your business who are your employees, and you've got to like keep going. And I made some horrible, stupid mistakes, like investments in, I don't care what anyone says, I hate HubSpot. I hate it. Me and HubSpot have got a lot of bad blood, but I basically accidentally and intentionally, well fatigued, invested about 30k to set up HubSpot to really maximize our corporate sales pipeline, which you'll know all about through the work we've done. And I just didn't manage the project. It all fell apart, and yeah, we were absolutely like just landed with this horrible invoice. But yeah, just the pressure to be everything's okay. And you hear mums, like that's quite a normal thing, like mums have to put on a brave face for the kids. That's just part and parcel of the job description apparently. But to do that for the kids or kid, the employees, the customers, it's a lot.
It's a huge amount, and thanks for sharing that, because I can also relate to spending money on tech early in the first year, not as anywhere near the amount of that, but for my business was significantly smaller, and it felt like a huge investment, and it was wrong for my business at the time. And I've done a whole podcast on it, that I got sucked in by social media. It's called Dubsado. Awful. I mean, it's right for certain services that you're selling, but for an agency like mine, not right at all. Yeah, so I invested in that, and I've done a whole episode on it, and it's so true. I think we don't talk enough about having to be there for the clients and the people when you're sleep deprived, when you're snappy, when things might not be going right at home. I think it's a huge change for you and your partner as well. And then also when you have, we both know, as leading a people business as well, people come with people problems, and they're real problems is what I find. The problems I've encountered, it's nothing to do with my business, say, for example, but they've got something real going on, and having to then carry that as well when you're in the depths of carrying something huge. Like, did you have similar experiences like that?
Yeah, I mean, I had someone come to me when I'd not long had my little girl, and she came to me to say that she was pregnant and she wasn't sure she wanted to keep the baby. So I ended up having to talk her through it, and take her out for a coffee, and let's go for a walk, and try and support her through that, which then completely blew up in my face, because she actually, I forgot this story now that I've just said it. She wanted a lot of flexibility. I said that was fine, we'll do what we can. She said she probably wasn't going to come back after having the baby. I said that's fine, let's still pay you maternity leave, don't leave before, because then you'll be financially worse off. I can claim back maternity leave from NI, so it's fine. And she then sort of, despite all of this, then said that it was too much what we were asking her to do, even though she had herself taken herself to London for a week using annual leave to work in a very high-end London bakery, that she wanted the experience. She was doing a mini internship for a week, a stage, and was on her feet for 4 days, pregnant, but then came back to me and said I was asking too much for working 3 days a week. So it's stuff like that. You're like, come on, I want to not have to do this. I'm pregnant.
Yeah, I that is that challenge. And I think people don't realise as well, is because you think, if I was going through that, I'd talk to my mum, talk to my friends, talk to my, someone who can support you in life. And often they come to you, and it's not saying don't come to me, but it's saying, oh God, I got something really heavy going on here, and now I've got something heavy going on at work as well. And that's not, and it's, I think, a lot of pressure. I think we've spoken this at length. Small business owners are feeling so much pressure right now. And then when we've also got the pressure that none of us are becoming mums, and none of us are having children. And it's the pressure of trying to do both. Did you take maternity leave? I actually haven't asked you this. Did you take maternity leave from your business? What was your setup plan for that?
So my intention was to have about 6 months off. So my little girl had a place at nursery from when she was 6 months old, and she was going to be there for 2 days a week, and my parents were going to look after her for 3 days. For 1 day. So I was going to work 3 days a week from October, but you know what it's like. You're not just sitting at home just looking after baby. You're still checking your emails. You're still checking in. You're going in. You're chatting, and that's what I was doing pretty much. From when, I want to say, when she hit 3 or 4 months old, I was back kind of. And I could get loads of work done when she was a newborn, because I just plonk her on the boob and just do some work. Whereas now she's a toddler, and I'm like, go away, please.
That's why I sometimes don't talk to people in the newborn phase, because they're like, oh yeah, it's fine to work and do this, and we don't know until you've gone through the toddler time what the toddler time is like.
Yeah,
you can see a toddler in front of you, but you still can't register that your baby's going to be that toddler.
She's not got her cot bars up.
Yeah.
So she's in and out of her bed all the time. And my friend who's got a 2-year-old is like, oh yeah, no, she sleeps through the night. And I'm like, of course she sleeps through the night. She can't get out of the bed. Mine can get out of the bed.
And they're all different. And I think that's it as well. You can have that smug one. My first was quite good at sleeping, and could have been that child I could have taken, if I had a business, taken naps, and I'd work during it. Did that during COVID. My second, it was nope, I'll only nap on a walk and on you.
Yeah.
And it's just different things. And I think That is something you're refreshingly honest about, is to say the taboo, having a child can negatively impact a business. Do you feel that way with yours? Like, and obviously that's not saying you love being a mother, you love your daughter, but it's also being refreshingly honest about what you're dealing with as a business owner who's very passionate, and as we need more female founders like you, Rachel, passionate about growth, employing people, growing your business in the right way, being a great employer, but also being a mother as well. How do you think those two have managed to coexist together?
With great difficulty. I think take away the kind of emotion or almost the person and look at the science. Like, a woman who is breastfeeding and like nourishing another human who is sleeping less because of all of that, the sheer facts of it mean that you cannot give the hours, the energy, the focus, and the drive to your business, right? It's just a fact, okay? Now, if you have the money to hire a nanny, to have a night nurse, you know, like to get all the help you possibly can, and have family down the road, that's great for you, but I haven't met most of those. Like, I haven't met a lot of
That's
those.
not reality for most people.
Yeah. So, like, it is immediately at odds with running a business. And I did put people in place. I did put systems in place. I did think I was doing all the right things so I could only work 3 days a week, stuff like that. There were still cracks in everything. And the biggest thing I sort of talk about is that while I wasn't like 100% there, decisions were made that I personally wouldn't have made or like would have thought differently about. And then there were the key decisions that weren't made that should have been made, you know, like time should have been called on certain things, and we're allowed to sort of peter out, negatively impacting the wider business. So yeah, kind of like take the emotion out. It's hard. Put the emotion back in. It's even harder because I was so conflicted. I want to grow my business. I want to do this. I want to be present for my child. You know, like this does not match. But yet there are women on social media and LinkedIn who tell you it absolutely can. You can have it all, just invest in this. This plan will get you here. And yes, I have yet to find the golden ticket.
Yeah, and I feel like potentially they are running solo freelance businesses, and it's different to a growth people business or a growth product business, that it's just different to a growth business as well. And if you don't have, like many of us don't, the extra income for nannies or family down the road that are really, or like your business is everything and your partner doesn't work, but most of us have partners that work, that live in dual income families, especially if it's nice to have that stability of a working partner when you're the business owner as well.
100%.
And because you've talked about this, and I think you're saying on it there, it's the guilt. Did you feel, and how did you navigate that initial realization of the guilt of not working and the guilt of not being with your daughter?
I don't think I have reconciled it. Like, the guilt just lives on my shoulder constantly. I'm not joking. It's genuinely a voice that is almost always present. So this afternoon is my little girl's, like, it's an open afternoon at her primary school, the school she'll go to next year. So we're going to go to that. And then I'm like, oh, amazing. I have the flexibility to do that. I don't have to ask an employer for time off. Oh my God, I've got so much to do. Like, what will the team think? Like, how am I going to make up this time? Like, that so-and-so is waiting on that from me. You know, like, that's an everyday occurrence.
I think that's something I'm realising, because my kids are a little bit older now, 7 and 5. And I think you start to work more as they get older naturally, and your child's 4. And I think you sometimes get more guilt about not working. It's a lot easier when you've got like 2 and under, like baby years, not at school, do you think? Because you're like, they need me, and then you start to work more. Well, mine are at school, so they are at school Monday to Friday, and then I'm like, oh, if I don't work on a Wednesday, which I never used to preschool, it's like I feel more guilty now, and I'm like, that's a really strange thing to have when we're told constantly. We both did the Goldman Sachs thing, you know, if you're going to sell your business one day, which is a goal for most business owners, because you've got to have a get out plan, got to have an exit plan, and the only way you can do that is by slowly removing yourself from the business.
But then there's like, this inflection point where you have to like remove yourself, but in order to build that, you need to like go all in, and that's kind of where I'm at. Like I was removed whilst I was having the baby. came back in, realized that the things weren't great. I had to go all the way back in. At various points, I've pulled back. When we were doing the Goldman Sachs course, I'd sort of pulled back. The team were running things. But again, it just wasn't stable enough to deal with the rough times.
Yeah.
If there was no issues, then I could 100% like be out the business. But because there were issues and I didn't have the systems or the people there to make the call to deal with it, I didn't have the business plan. People could sort of compare reality with, the idea, the direction. It was just, come out, go back in and out, shake it all about.
It does feel like that sometimes. That's so right. And I know, because we did just discuss this previously, and I wouldn't ask anyone else this, and if you're not comfortable talking about it, but how has your experience impacted or makes you think about if you grew your family more and the business?
Yeah, it is. It's a sad situation, I guess, that I would really like to have a bigger family, but the pressure it put on me to do everything and the emotional journey, before we talk about the physical effects, that it was a lot. And to do that when there's so much uncertainty in the economy and with my business, and when it's not where I thought it would be, or let alone want it to be, I don't think I could live. I don't think I would be a good business owner or a good mother if I was to have more kids right now. I really want to. I do. But I just don't. I think I would be miserable because I'm doing neither thing well. Like, I wouldn't be able to take good time off and be a really present parent, and I wouldn't be able to give my all to the business, and it would suffer as a result. And so you're trying to do everything, and I'd probably just end up really sad, which could then manifest into postnatal depression. I don't know.
It's the uncertainty.
I really do. Like, I would love to just, and people say there's no right time to have a baby. You just make it work. And I do believe that. I do think there are plenty of women and parents out there who just make it work. But it's at what cost? You know?
And I don't think we're refreshingly open enough about the cost. Especially now in today's climate, you might think about someone who did it 20 years ago can't compare to a mother who's gone through COVID, who's gone through the massive uncertainty and the recessions in the world, versus 20 years ago when nursery might have cost like 20 quid a day or something like that. I think, I think it's a refreshingly honest and open piece to ask, and it's actually an important conversation to have if we're listening to founders who've exited their business and were doing it 25 years ago, talking about it, that they just made it work, and it's everyone's circumstances are different. Do you think, playing devil's advocate, do you think a male founder would feel the same about their business and fatherhood,
No.
and worrying to make it work? Yeah.
No, and I actually take it back to that sort of pure science factual point of view that his boobies are not required. Like, there are plenty, babies bottle fed, that's cool, like, and that's it. But it's, a man won't have to factor in the physical exhaustion as much as
the physical changes. I think some do a very good job of hiding their changes, but I think the only way to talk about it is the openness, is it takes like 2 years, and that's if you're not breastfeeding, because many are still breastfeeding at 2 years. 2 years for your body, mind, brain to settle back.
I actually almost exactly 2 years felt something lift.
Yeah, there is.
I went on a weekend break to Tuscany, to a weekend cookery course in the rolling hills of Tuscany. And I took my notebook, walked up to the top of the hill at the vineyard, sat down, just cried and cried and cried. And then like gathered myself up. And when I did the course and then got back home, I was like, I just did something for me. I really needed that, and this is who I am now. I
love that. That's so needed, and I think that's so refreshing to hear for so many women who are afraid to go away, afraid to leave. And I think there might also be a fear of like, well, I'll be on my own and I'll actually discover who I am again, and like have a minute to myself where there's not all the noise, someone banging on the toilet to get me constantly, someone trying, needing a cuddle, which is lovely, but sometimes you need your own space to be like, okay, this is me, and that is me. And I think that's a really, really refreshing. What would you change for mothers who are running businesses? What do you think could happen in an ideal world that could make people more aware? If we want female founders, we've got to support the mothers. This is why I started the podcast. I felt like this was such a missing piece. I'm like, well, there's so obviously so many reasons in history of why there's less female founders, why we only get 2% of the funding, why there's only 20% of leaders, or 15% might be 15 or 20% of female business owners, things like that. And it's like, we need to address the motherhood situation, and in order to get more women, which we do need because more representation is needed. What do you think could help that if we supported mothers? What support could we have for mothers in business?
I mean, I'm always going to say money.
Yeah. I like that because it's so easy to not say that as a woman, but yeah, I'm like, money.
I think the whole sort of childcare infrastructure is really broken. I would have gone back to work full time and worked 5 days if there was the space at the nursery. Like, there was just not enough availability at the nursery. And I had put her name down before she was born. So yeah, that, but then also the cost, like I just couldn't justify over £1,000 a month. So because I had the flexibility, I thought, well, I may as well just, yeah. So the cost, the infrastructure, and then, yeah, I mean, I know that obviously women in business don't quite get maternity pay. It's not the same. But what could we do to get more mums to start businesses? I think if you had the infrastructure and the financial barriers were removed, or more financial support was in place, you would have a shift in societal expectations. And I think that we can't underestimate the expectations placed upon mothers and women and business owners when they become a mum. So that guilt we talked about is perpetuated by, like society's expectations, which are set up because women now are staying at home, not going back to work because they can't afford to put their kid into childcare. So if that's a default position, slowly creeping in, and I do think it is, we need 2-income households. So are you going to get £100 left over at the end of the month to yourself, having put most of that money to nursery, and live with the guilt of having put your child into nursery? You may as well just say, actually, for the sake of £100, I'll just stay at home with them.
That leaves, for me, it leaves women in a financially worrying position because money, and sadly we live in a world where money still talks, and not even just talking in a depressing divorce sense, but if your husband loses his job, my husband works in tech, he's experienced redundancy twice, and that's just part of our lives. We've realized in our industries, redundancy, or even things with bereavement and things, it puts you in a financially damaged situation if you do that. And because unfortunately we just live in a world where money talks is my personal view on that. And thank you. It's nice to have a refreshingly honest conversation about this and talk about all of this. But because did you ever think, because you've also had we're running out of time here, but I did want to touch on, you suffer from epilepsy, you've had health issues also running your business. Did you and that would give you a huge amount of resilience as it was. Did you ever think that resilience would also help you in the motherhood way of you've had to navigate challenges yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, the benefit of having a long-term health condition is hospitals don't faze me.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah.
I'm just like,
That's
cool, take my blood. Give me an epidural, it's fine.
That's a really interesting point, because I remember I used to work with people who worked on the front desk of a maternity wards, and they'd be like, women wouldn't step foot in a hospital and suddenly have to go there all the time and be monitored. And I don't think we're given enough grace with that as well, that it's quite a scary time for a woman. Then you're trying to focus on your business and everything like that. So that is a really good positive to bring to the chat, that yes, take my blood, sort me out. I'm fine with this.
I'll just be on my laptop, no worries.
Yeah. And do you have a vision of where you want to be in the next few years? Obviously, we worked on that on the programme we were, but where's your business going from that? Because I know you talk a lot about, well, you did, or I saw you did, that you wanted to be a £5 million turnover business, because there's a huge, what's the stat of many of female founders that get there?
I mean, this statistic is very old now. So I don't know the current one, but it's probably not unlikely to have changed. It's that the number of women who lead businesses with a turnover in excess of £5 million are just few and far between. And a woman called Sam Smith's now leading the super scalers community. So she's trying to get more women to businesses with £50 million plus turnover. So way bigger. And she's really shouting about growth and scale for women rather than startups, which I think is very important. But in terms of where I want to be in the next few years, I would like to get like a senior leader or a head of growth or someone in, like, develop a much stronger, bigger senior team in the business to lead it to where it needs to be. I'm very proud of where I've got it to, but I can see now, especially having been through the program that we did, that I might not necessarily be the person to take it to the next level. So I'm looking at building the team around me to grow it. But I can just show you this is my vision board. So I
love that. Visual representation, everyone, if you're watching on video.
Yeah. So I got a check out. I printed a blank RBS check, wrote £5 million. I did a mock cover of my first novel.
My goodness, I need to steal your vision board, Rachel. Yeah. I need inspo. Send me a photo later.
I've got a photo of me doing stand-up comedy, so I want to be a writer and comedian. I've got a first-class airway ticket. I want to travel first class. Yeah, and cross-stitch.
Wasn't it Jim Carrey that did that with a check? Like, he wrote like his income on it for like a movie, like 10 million or something, and he got it. Like, I love that. I'm going to do that, Rachel. I'm going to steal your vision board. I have full belief you'll get that. And I also love the awareness, because I think having the world I work in with business support and everything, we see a lot that founders need to realise they can get a business to a certain place, and then you also need to know when to step away. And I think that is, I have no doubt you'll be able to do it because you've already got that vision and awareness in place, which is hugely needed with founders. And finally, I'd like to finish on is that I'm a little bit obsessed with joy. You discovered mine after. I really believe for us to be good mothers, we need to know ourselves enough, separate ourselves enough from the motherhood piece as well. I think it's really underestimated, but what does joy look like for Rachel? We've had everything from one founder who said she skips in the garden every day, which I thought was brilliant and I might steal, to like solo traveling trips one of my clients goes on. So what does joy look like for you?
Gosh, great question. I really like meditation.
Oh, speak my language, Rachel.
But like, partly because I'm so happy I found the time to do it. It's not just the effect of it.
It is when you find 10 minutes. I remember I used to go to like the dentist. I'd be like, this is lovely. And so that's always a sign you might need to find meditation.
Yeah, and then I'd probably say a lovely coffee and a nice bun and my notebook and pen in a coffee shop is like, mwah, chef's kiss.
I'm seeing you in Paris now, though. I think we should add in Paris to that one, since that's
Although I actually think the coffee in Paris, because it's so like espresso based or black coffee on the terrace in the brasserie, it's not actually the coffee I enjoy.
Rachel, it's been an absolute pleasure, and we're going to be releasing this before Christmas, so I'd love to shout out your business if anyone's doing gifting and gifting for their team, friends, everyone. Where can people find out more about you and more about the business?
Yeah, I would absolutely love for everyone to buy our Christmas range of macarons. So mince pie, French macarons, definitely one of our highlight flavours. So you can go and order online at mademoisellemacron.co.uk. You can pre-order for Christmas and have them delivered in time for Christmas Eve, or have them delivered next week, because who wants to wait for a mince pie?
Yes, and also I just think, instead of a mince pie for Father Christmas, let's put out Mademoiselle Macaron and support a female founded business. So you've inspired me. I'm going to be encouraging that with my kids this year for Father Christmas time.
His snack just got upgraded.
It did. It really did. I mean, I'm looking forward to it, let's just say. Well, thank you so much, Rachel. And I can't wait. We'll definitely have you back on the podcast in a couple of years' time to see where your business is at and your family's at as well.
Fingers crossed it'll be where I hope it is.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to Bump to Business Owner. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Please do rate, review, follow, or subscribe wherever you're listening. It really helps us to connect with more mums and business owners. You can DM me on @BumpToBusinessOwner on Instagram, and I'll be back next week.